What was Aristotle's life? Well, the answer lay in a single sentence. He was born, he thought, he died. And all the rest is pure anecdote. Philosophy will not be able to effect an immediate transformation of the present condition of the world. This is not only true of philosophy, but of all merely human thought and endeavor. Yet man acts as though he were the shaper and master of language, while in fact language remains the master of man. Those who think big will be greatly mistaken. Tell me how you read and I'll tell you who you are. Your destiny can't be changed, but it can be challenged. Authentic poetry is never a higher mode than everyday speech. Rather, the opposite is true, that everyday speech is a forgotten poetry. Have you ever heard of Martin Heidegger? He might be the philosopher who makes you see life in a completely different way. Martin Heidegger, born in Germany, is one of those philosophers who makes you question everything, even the way you exist. The central concept of his philosophy is Dasein. The word itself is German and literally translates to being there or presence. However, in Heidegger's philosophy, it refers to the specific way humans exist in the world, characterized by self-awareness, choices, and the understanding of their own mortality. Heidegger invites us not to hide behind the impersonal self, that it is done this way because everyone does it, and to live more consciously. His life was not without controversy, but his ideas continue to influence the way we think about existence and our relationship with the modern world. Being there, the human being, understood in its extreme possibility of being, is time itself, and is not in time. The most thought-provoking thing in our thought-provoking time is that we are still not thinking. Thinking only begins at the point where we have come to know that reason, glorified for centuries, is the most obstinate adversary of thinking. The human being is not the Lord of beings, but the shepherd of being. In his masterpiece, Being and Time, Heidegger addresses the problem of being. The originality of Heidegger's thought is expressed in the philosopher's approach to the question of being. For him, the human being is not separated from the world as an external observer. You are inside the world, immersed in it, and everything you do, think, and feel happens in relation to the world. When you work, study, love, feel fear, or have fun, you are being in the world as Dasein. Dasein is not just being, but being in a particular way that includes the ability to reflect on one's existence. Unlike other beings, humans, Dasein, are aware of their own finitude, meaning they are conscious that they will die, and this awareness shapes how they live. Existing refers to something that is present in the world, while being there refers to something that is present in the world or has a more specific presence in a fairly defined place. For example, a stone is, but does not know it. A human being is and knows it, and this changes everything. How many times do we go through the day without thinking about who we really are? Heidegger would tell you that you are falling into the everyday and you need to wake up. Philosophy has always tried to define being as a thing, a fixed object. But Heidegger says, stop it. Being is not a static thing. It is a living experience, something that happens. Dasein, from the German, being there, is just that, being alive, aware and immersed in the flow of life. Understanding of being is itself a determination of being of Dasein. In short, Dasein is the way humans exist as conscious, self-reflective beings who are always confronted with their own potential and limitations. Thought is the thought of being in that, belonging to being, it is the listening of being. Every questioning is a seeking. Every seeking takes its direction beforehand from what is sought. Questioning is a knowing search for beings in their thatness and whatness. Every human being is a being towards death. It seems like a heavy sentence, right? But think about how your choices would change if you were truly aware of this fact every day. We never come to thoughts, they come to us. Thinking only begins at the point where we have come to know that reason, glorified for centuries, is the most obstinate adversary of thinking. Only when we think intensely about what has already been thought will we understand the correct meaning of what has already been thought. We come to understand what it means to think when we ourselves think. For such an attempt to succeed, we must be prepared to learn to think. As soon as we undertake this learning, we have also already confessed that we are not capable of thinking. Yet, man means he who can think, and rightly so. If Dasein is defined by its existence and its continuous confrontation with being, this self-awareness inevitably leads to a distressing reflection on our place in the world. But it is not only restlessness that defines the human being, it is also his interaction with the world around him, especially with technology, which often escapes our control and alienates us from our true essence. Everywhere we remain unfree and chained to technology, whether we passionately affirm or deny it. The fundamental phenomenon that characterizes all aspects of our time is technology. What is truly disturbing is not that the world is being transformed into a complete domination of technology. Far more disturbing is that man is not at all prepared for this radical change in the world. Heidegger was not against technology, but against the idea that man becomes its slave. According to him, technology transforms everything into a resource. Today, scrolling social media has become a daily ritual. But are we using technology or are we being used by it? The greatest danger is not technology itself, but the fact that it makes us forget about being. Have you ever checked your phone for no real reason? Well, Heidegger would tell you that, in that moment, technology is using you. The essence of man lies in his existence. The question of life is never resolved unless one exists. Man is thrown into the world, but it is up to him to give himself a direction. Language is the house of being. For Heidegger, anguish is not simply fear of a specific danger, but a deep and indefinite feeling that reveals nothingness. It is anguish that opens the doors to the awareness of non-being, and precisely through this awareness, the individual can grasp the most authentic meaning of his own being. Far from being a purely negative emotion, anguish thus becomes a transformative force, a call to accept one's mortal condition and abandoning the illusion of eternity. In this sense, death is not only an end, but an opening to a new understanding of existence. Anguish is the fundamental disposition that confronts us with nothingness. Anguish, unlike fear, is not a feeling that one experiences in the face of something specific. That which one feels anguish about has no name. Therefore, anguish has no eyes to see a certain here or there from which that which is threatening approaches. Man is an anticipation of death. As soon as we are born, we are old enough to die. If I take death into my life, acknowledge it, and face it squarely, I will free myself from the anxiety of death and the pettiness of life, and only then will I be free to become myself. In conclusion, we can say that death reveals itself as the most radical and revealing event for Dasein. In the face of death, Dasein can no longer take refuge in social conventions, daily habits, or the distractions of the impersonal yes. Every man is born as many men and dies as a single one. Death lays bare the true essence of the individual, forcing him to confront his own finitude and uniqueness. It is in this moment that being discovers his true identity, recognizing that his existence is neither indefinite nor replicable. Dying is not an event, but a phenomenon to be understood in an existential sense. Death is the limit of our possibilities. Heidegger invites us to wake up, not to live like automatons, to be aware of who we are and where we are going. Next time you feel anguish, stop. Maybe it is not a mistake, but an opportunity to rediscover your being. If you enjoyed the video, leave a comment with your favorite Heidegger quote and subscribe for more journeys into philosophy. See you soon.